Hey, good afternoon, everyone. And hello. We're back at another session of Ask Me Anything for 2026. As I wait for everyone to log in and get settled, I just want to wish everyone Happy New Year, Happy 2026. Hope your holidays were good, hopefully eventful or non-eventful, depending on how you wanted your holidays to go. But certainly happy to be back for another session of hosting the AMA. Again, we'll be doing this bi-weekly, every other Wednesday, I should say, from 2 to 3 p.m., where we address all the questions that you have about anything and everything that has to do with our hiring process, events that you want to attend, and all the things that you need to know to make yourself competitive for the next hiring intake for us. I'm Sergeant Ranjan with the Uniform Recruitment Unit. So on behalf of all my colleagues, our uniform members, our civilian members, everyone that has a hand in making our process in hiring you for the OPP, I want to thank everyone for 2025. We had an amazing year, and we just want to do amazing things for 2026, and certainly hope to see many of you with your applications submitted as they come in. So what are we going to focus on today in our session today? The first one of 2026, we'll recap what our hiring process is, what the stages of our hiring process are, what you need to know to make sure that you're successful. So I'm going to go over different stages, what our training looks like, and certainly the tips that you need to know as your applications come in. And certainly what you should be focused on. If you have any questions, certainly throw them in the chat. I will be seeing them. I'll try to address as many. I know usually we get tons and tons of questions. I am pretty good with answering all of them, if not most of them. So I'm going to try to do my best to keep it going. If I miss your question or if I'm not getting to it, just post it again. All right. So here we go. What is our current standard? What is the minimum requirement that you need to have to apply to the OPP? Every single service has a few variations in terms of what they're looking for when it comes to the hiring process, but I'm going to go over what ours looks like. And obviously, I'll go over the training process. I'll go over the hiring process, and certainly that's something that will be beneficial to you. So minimum requirements: you have to be 18 years of age or older. You have to be a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident. You have to have high school diploma. Even if you're from another country, that's fine, as long as you have your standards equated for Ontario education standards, we will accept that. And I'll go more into it as we go through. You have to have a G license with no more than 6 demerit points. You have to be able to pass a fitness test by showing us that you're capable of reaching level 7 on the shuttle run. You have to obviously not have a criminal conviction, but if you do, as long as you have received a pardon for it, you can apply. And going back to the G license, no more than 6 demerit points. I think I mentioned that. And as you go through the process, you will do background, financial checks, psychological evaluations as part of the hiring process. So these are the minimum requirements that you need to meet to get your application submitted, right? If you go on our website, opp.ca/careers, that will be your first starting point because that is where we break down every single position. So the constable position, the auxiliary position, special constable position, which you will also see there, cadet positions. Certainly, all the positions that you're eligible to apply for, you'll get the information there. And I really, really implore you to read the frequently asked questions page, because on the frequently asked questions page, we cover a lot of information that will help you, whether you've thought about it or even if you read it, you might have things that you need to consider before submitting your application. So very, very important. So when you go on our opp.ca careers page, you would have to create yourself a login on a portal that we utilize now. As you know, we don't accept any of the paper application. It's all done online. It's all done virtually. Okay. So you would create a login for yourself. You would start filling out the application. Take your time to go through the application. Take your time to put and gather the information that we're asking you. There is no rush. I know one of the biggest myth that we have is, you need to get your application in by a certain date so you're available to be selected for a particular class. Um, you shouldn't approach it that way. We're hiring 4 times a year. We're hiring every 3 months for our intake. So as long as you put the product together, that's detailed, thorough, make sure you have it reviewed by someone else. Each step of the application essentially it should be vetted by someone, right? So that way you're not missing any information. Once you submit, then obviously now you're in the process and the other stages start, which I'll go on thoroughly. Uh, Looking at some questions here, let's look at some of the questions that are coming in. Um, right off the bat, I guess people want to know what the intake date for 2026 is. So on the 6th of January, which was last week, Tuesday, our class started at the Ontario Police College. That was the first intake for the Ontario Police College. And certainly I want to wish all of our recruits that are in that class the very best. Certainly, they'll be challenged, they'll learn. I'm sure they'll make a lot of friendships and things over the course of the time, the 10 weeks that they're there at the Ontario Police College. And certainly we look forward to welcoming them back at detachment once they graduate. But we will be hiring 4 times a year, as I mentioned. So the next intake will be past March. So the applications that are in our process right now, certainly they're competing for a spot in the March class. Okay. Question here. Accepted an OPP offer for the March intake. There you go. As I was just mentioning, congratulations. I currently have a shin injury and was advised to pause training for 3 to 4 weeks. If recruitment is informed, does this usually impact the offer? Again, we understand things happen. For example, in your situation, injuries happen. So just keep us apprised. Keep us apprised of the situation. Let us know how your recovery is going. And obviously, your medical professional, your doctor, would be the best person that you should probably consult based on what your scenario is, what your injury is, and what the remedy is in terms of timeline back to normal. So when you let us know what the situation is with your injury progression, we will deal with that on a case-by-case basis because, again, we want to make sure we're setting you up for success. We don't want to have you attend training. Certainly, there's a lot of physical training that happens, with the running, with the prep and the shuttle. And if you're not physically fit to pass that training, we don't want to put you in a predicament where you're attending training and you're not able to pass it. So certainly we'll work with you. And if we have to give you more time to go to another class, then we'll deal with it on a case-by-case basis, right? So please email us, let us know what your situation is, and we'll deal with that accordingly, okay? Question about if I have permanent residency and didn't reside in a country for longer than 6 months, can I apply? Exactly. So when you go into our application process, we have parameters set based on if you were out of country for a certain amount of months, you would have to get a criminal record check from that country. So please go on our website, and when you log into the applications portal, you'll see this question, and it'll tell you exactly when you would need that police record check from another country when you're in our application process. Okay, so certainly go and read that. A good question there. Excuse me. If I successfully complete an OPP hosted shuttle run event tomorrow, we actually had one yesterday at GHQ. So for those of you that attended and got your certificate, congratulations. That gives you a 30-day window for you to work on your application and get that submitted. So going back, if I successfully complete an OPP hosted shuttle run event tomorrow and submit my application this weekend, will I still have the opportunity to be considered for the upcoming March intake? So there is a lot of different, thank you. There's a lot of different scenarios that go into that. So every single application, as you can imagine, have different things that we need to consider. Some people have maybe just one job that they've ever worked. Some people have 20 jobs that they worked. So when their file goes to background, again, it takes time to go through all that detail. So every single application is not a cookie cutter application. So depending on the time it takes for your application to go through each step of the hiring process, it might take time. We usually say 4 to 6 months. We say from the moment you submit your application to the end of the process, 4 to 6 months before you can get a potential job offer. But again, case by case basis, it might be sometimes shorter than that, or it might take longer than that, right? So be patient. Always look at the first stage that's in front of you, right? And then you go on stage by stage. Don't look at the whole process because you might get overwhelmed. Just look at the stage ahead, prepare for the stage that's coming up, and focus on that. And before you know it, each of the stages will be completed, and potentially you get that call that you're hoping for. And later on in the session today, I will go over what those stages are and go in more detail about it. Okay, so hopefully that helped there. Let me see if there's a question here that I can address that we haven't touched on. Does OPP offer mentoring session? Unfortunately, no, we do not do that. And I can be very open about it because I think last year we had over 3,000 applications that we assessed for our processes. If we had to provide mentoring for each of those candidates, we just wouldn't have the capacity or the time to do that in every single case. What I would suggest, certainly you can get private coaching or training or mentorship that's available. I know many people do that. Certainly we have resources online, such as our Reach video series that go over what we're looking for in our hiring process. So certainly look at that and self-assess. See where you are strong in each of the areas, which is the 10 areas of assessment, which I will also touch upon in the session. See how strong you are, or maybe there are areas that you can potentially work on to improve yourself. If you apply and you're unsuccessful, I think that's where your first point of contact should be, to do some self-reflection, self-assessment, and see where you can improve, because you probably know yourself, if you're very honest with yourself, where you need to improve. So I say that would be probably a good area to start on. But thank you, that was a great question. What are the vision requirements? So there is a vision and hearing requirement in our process, and usually you would do this towards the end when it comes to the medical stage. For those of you that have obtained the OACP certificate, certainly you would have done this assessment. But for the OPP, you don't require the OACP certificate to apply. But if you do apply to multiple services, I'm sure you would have obtained that certificate. But again, if you are concerned about your vision standards or your vision parameters meeting those, or your hearing standards, what I would recommend, if you go on to our frequently asked questions page, we have broken down the vision requirement and the hearing requirement. Please go print this out, take this to your optometrist or your audiologist, and have yourself tested to make sure you meet these requirements. And the reason I say this is you don't want to go through the entire process. You make it all the way to the end and you get to the medical stage, and then you find out that you don't meet those requirements. I think that would be a huge devastation in terms of all the hard work that you put in. So please make sure, if you are concerned about this, to get yourself tested first before you go through the process. Okay. Question: can you apply during a bankruptcy or consumer proposal? So, Roy, I'm not sure if that means you've had bankruptcies, or you've had a consumer proposal, or you're currently in the process of going through it. Either way, I would say yes, you can apply. Certainly, one of the areas that we assess when you go through the process in the background investigation is the financial checks that we do on candidates, right? Certainly you'll be given the opportunity to explain your situation, what happens, because life happens, things happen, and financially sometimes we make decisions that don't work out in our favor. Certainly you can explain everything and tell us what happened, and we as an organization, we will assess the situation and see what that is, right? So I would still implore you to submit your application and see how you do. Okay. Okay, Yassine, thank you for attending the shuttle run session. I was just passed. You're putting this application in. Do I just submit personal trainer and other certification education specialist? Absolutely. So if you have any sort of certification, special skills, or special training, absolutely you should highlight that and submit any sort of documentation you have, because it speaks to the person you are. It speaks to the quality of the candidate. It speaks to what you bring to the table that you already have in your possession. So all those skill sets. Special skills especially is an area of assessment that we assess you on. So these things would certainly make you a competitive candidate. So in going so. Thank you for the questions. I see I'm falling behind on the questions, but I'll try to catch up here. One of the other questions here, I'm 57 years old and not in the best shape. Do I have a chance for hire? anyone has a chance to be hired as long as you can meet the required stages. So um, if you are struggling with fitness, say for example you're struggling to reach level 7, I would say certainly start running. I think that would be the starting point. I think you got to start running to get your body into that mindset, that stamina, to build up your stamina, because you have to be able to meet level 7 on the shuttle run for you to have a chance. Certainly, maybe you know what, I will talk on the areas, different areas that we will assess you on when you submit your application. Let's just talk about that right now. So application submission, that's the first stage that everyone would start in. You would go to opp.ch/careers and start your portal and get your application put together. As I mentioned earlier, please don't rush it. Be detailed, thorough, and take your time to gather all the information, because we ask for a lot of documentation. We ask for things that you've done all over in terms of your past, whether it's driving history, educational history, employment history, all those things we ask for. So take your time to gather all that info. And the program that we have set up online is very intuitive. So if there are areas that you're missing, the system, the application won't let you submit the product. It'll block and it'll highlight the areas that you need to fix before you can submit your application. So please be detailed and thorough and make sure somebody reviews it. Once you submit your application, what happens? We receive it, and now we go through your application to make sure that every single area, the minimum requirements are met, and obviously then we assess you from a competitive standpoint. Uh, if we feel that you're competitive, the next stage that you would be invited to complete would be the fitness assessment stage. This is where you would do the shuttle run. So in our hiring process currently, the only fitness area that we assess you on is the shuttle run. You have to show us that you're capable of reaching level 7 on the shuttle run. And there's two ways you can do this. One, you can do a self recorded video, and you would send us the link of the shuttle run, and we would assess it virtually. The second option is you can actually show up to our in-person shuttle run session, which we host across the province once a month. So every single region across the province will host a shuttle run session where you can sign up for free online and just show up, and you would do the shuttle run in front of a fitness appraiser like myself and my colleagues. And essentially, once you pass, we would give you a certificate of completion, which will give you 30 days as a way for you to go through the process. So if you're in the process of completing your application, it gives you 30 days to bypass once you've done it. Or certainly, if you're in the process, certainly you can submit the application to complete it. So it gives you two options there. Okay. And once you submit that, certainly the next stage that you would be invited for is our interview stage. So once your application is screened and we feel that you're a strong candidate, we would invite you for an interview. Currently, it's a virtual interview. It's a one-on-one virtual interview that you would do with the recruiter like myself. And in the interview, it's all about you. We go over everything that you bring to the table from a competitive standpoint. Why you want to be a police officer? Why is it that you're pursuing this career? You probably know we're going to probably ask you that question, and hopefully you thought about this. Hopefully, it's something that you've given some serious thought to in terms of why this profession is something that you're looking to seek out. And then we go over your resume, we go over your details, your past, with all 10 areas of assessment, which I'll get to next. Once the interview is complete, a review again is done on you as a candidate. And certainly then if you're selected to go beyond that stage, you'd move on, which is the background investigation stage. This is where you would have a background investigation completed as well as a psych assessment completed on you. And then the results are compiled, and then your file moves on to the final review stage. At the final review stage, this is where we go through A to Z, everything that you submitted from stage 1 all the way up to the end. We review everything just to see if you are the type of candidate that we want to hire for the organization. And if it is so, you'll certainly get that call from us, and it's probably going to be a very memorable call, something you probably won't forget in your life, and obviously it changes your life moving on from that point onward, right? So that's essentially how quick or how fast we would go through our hiring process from stage 1 to 7 kind of thing. Going back to the questions here, any questions on what I had addressed here? I'm just trying to see if there's anything that I missed. Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to catch up here. Question. I'm having difficulties getting driver's abstract from another country. They can't provide it due to some system issue. Is there an alternative? I have a Canadian abstract. So again, depending on if you obviously if you had a driver's license in another country, we do require a driver's abstract from that country. If you can't get a driver's abstract from that country, obviously you would one look at maybe the embassy that you can reach out to in Canada of that country. They might be able to provide some other alternatives. And if you're still struggling, certainly email us, and we'll see what other options are available based on recommendations that we can provide. Okay. Um, thank you for the compliment. Uh, Let me see. There's a question that I did not address. Hmm. Okay. How long is the recruitment process, and how many police constables are you hiring for 2026? So yeah, great question. So we hire 4 times a year because the Ontario Police College runs their classes only 4 times a year. So we always try and fill anywhere about 115 to 120 candidates per class. The numbers might shift by a few, but usually that is the number that we are always targeting per class to make sure that we fill for the needs of the organization. As I mentioned earlier, most applications follow the timeline of 4 to 6 months from application submission to a job offer, depending on how in-depth your application is and how much time we need to spend on it. But usually 4 to 6 months would be pretty accurate. So, if you're applying, say if you submitted your application today, will you have a chance to enter the March class? Probably not, because there's only about 2 month difference. There's not enough time for you to get through every single stage of the hiring process. So you're probably looking at a class that's more closer to May or June, right? But I don't think that's where you need to focus on. I think the focus that you need to have is essentially doing or completing each of the stage to the best of your ability. So naturally, as the file moves on, you will be eligible for the first available class when your file comes up for a job offer. I think if you put your mindset at that pace, I think certainly you'll reap the benefit of it. Okay. Does the interview consist of a panel interview? No. Currently, the way we have set it up is a one-on-one interview with the recruiter, and it's done virtually. It's not in person. So certainly there might be things that might change in the future, but currently, right now, as we stand, it's a virtual interview and it's a one-on-one interview, and you could be interviewed by any one of our recruiters across the province. So it's not regionally based. So if you're from the GTA area, it's not that a GTA recruiter will be interviewing you. It could be anyone across the province that could be interviewing you. Okay. Okay, so I've read that a decent number of new recruits are mid-career individuals who opted for a career change. What would you tell, or what tips would you give those folks in their 40s considering such a change? So, Jam, that's a great question. In society right now, certainly there's a lot of change happening, and there's many people that have personally reached out to me looking for a second career opportunity. So, either they were laid off, or maybe they're not happy in their current career and they're looking for something that's more engaging, that's more fun, that's different from what they're used to doing, which is very, very normal. And I think we are seeing a lot more people in that boat that are applying for a policing career, and we welcome it. I certainly think we, as an organization, as a policing organization, competitive in terms of salary, benefits, but also opportunity to learn and grow. Every time I go into our internal job posting portal, I see so many positions available for people to apply to if you're a police officer. So certainly I would say I encourage you, I implore you to, look into it. If you don't know what the police officer profession is, all it takes is for you to come to our information session. I host the information sessions with my colleagues here at the general headquarters in OPP. So all you have to do is sign up for it on Eventbrite and show up. It's free to attend. At least if you show up, you can understand from A to Z what this profession is. You have a chance to speak to us. If you have any personal questions that maybe you don't feel comfortable asking in the forum, we can talk about it to see if you have any sort of hesitancy in pursuing this career, or if you feel like there's any limitations for you to pursue this career, we can address that. But I would say, try it out. There's nothing you lose by trying out or giving this a shot, but there's so much to be gained from growth, movement, different positions that we offer that you probably have never even thought of that you can do as a police officer. So that's one of the biggest things I've learned over my career in terms of different things that officers are able to do or available to them in terms of positions. So that's what I would say. Um, I'm just trying to look here. Thank you for the questions, by the way. Amazing questions, and certainly thought provoking ones for sure. Um, let's see if there's it. If I take a 2-year duration posting, good question. Am I guaranteed or more likely to get the post I prefer, as I own a home in Southern Ontario? Um, Absolutely. So one of the things that we always promote and offer is our duration posting. So when you go in our hiring process, when you select the detachment, you can pick 6 detachments in our hiring process. Ranking them from 1 to 6, and we always try to do our best to give you one of the 6, and I'm pretty sure we do a really, really good job of giving you the top 3, one of the top 3 in majority of the cases. So depending on if you pick a 2-year, 3-year, 4-year, 5-year duration, again, there's a financial incentive to that. So when you pick a duration posting, we pay you an extra financial incentive on top of the salary for you to go there. And once you complete your duration, when you finish your duration, you have the option of re-signing for another duration to make that financial incentive again, or you can pick another detachment across the province where you want to maybe be redeployed to or transferred to. So you do have a lot of flexibility, especially if you have personal obligations, or you come from a certain part of the province and you want to get back there. Maybe it's beneficial for your family life, or you want to get back to where you grew up. So these are options I think we as an organization do really, really well on in terms of giving people the flexibility to make sure they have a good work-life balance, right? So certainly that is available to you. Going back to what happens after you're hired. So I went over the stages of the hiring process. Next, I'll go over the 10 areas of assessment, which is one thing we always get asked about in terms, what is it that we're looking for in the application stage? What is it that we're looking for at the interview stage? And overall, as an applicant, what is it that we're assessing you on? So let's go over that. So if you go on our website, you'll see a chart. It's like a pie chart. And we've broken that down into 10 different areas of assessments. So when you submit your application, we are assessing you on this. When you come to the interview, we're assessing you on this. And overall, at each of the stages, again, you're being critiqued on this. So for example, education. So when you submit your application, we're looking at your education. As you know, high school is minimum. You need your high school education. Certainly, if you have your high school diploma from here, you're eligible to apply in that category. If you have a high school education from another country, that's fine, as long as you have it accredited for Ontario standards. So you can do that through WES, which you can go on our website. It's a third-party company that will assess this for you, right? And there's a minimal cost to do that. So again, when you submit your application, we will look at your grades. We would look at if you have post-secondary studies, or you went to university. Certainly other different areas of certifications that you've done. Again, all these things count towards how competitive you are in that section. We look at the percentages maybe that you got in school. Were you engaged in school, or did you struggle in school? Again, you'll be given an opportunity to articulate your side of the story also in that category. The next one that we'll look at is, physical and mental fitness. So one, that you need to get level 7 on the shuttle run as part of the hiring process. But we also look at it from a holistic perspective. What is it that you do to maintain your fitness? What is it that you do to maintain your mental health? So as you know, before you submit your applications, you have to fill out 2 weeks worth of fitness log, which you will also find on our portal. So if you're submitting your application, for example, today, you would have had to track your fitness for the past 2 weeks as part of your submission. So in the logs, we would ask you about your cardio, your strength training, your shuttle, your fitness pin, maybe anything and everything that you do to maintain your fitness, your healthy lifestyle. That's what we want to see. You don't have to fill out everything on the sheet, but fill out what is applicable to you to show us what it is that you do to maintain your fitness, right? Let's talk about motivation. Why do you want to be a police officer, right? So that is something that we are going to ask you and assess you, and we hope that you kind of thought about it before you come into our interview or coming into before even applying, right? Why is it that you want to pursue this profession? Why is it that you want to apply to the OPP specifically? There are a lot of police services out there that you can apply for. Why is it that you want to apply to the OPP? So certainly that is something that we look to hear from you on, right? I always enjoy listening to the answers because I want to see your motivation. What is it that it's bringing you in front of me here today, right? Special skills. What is special skills? So for me, I would say, I speak a second language. I would consider that a special skill. The reason being, I'm able to, even when I was a road officer, I was able to use that skill to investigate, help people, and really solve a lot of issues that, maybe it's hard to do otherwise if you don't speak that language. So that's one thing that I would say is a special skill for me. But you may have a myriad of skills that you might, speak to in terms of special. Maybe you're a pilot. Maybe you have a black belt, in karate. Maybe certainly, maybe you have a special skill set in scuba diving, right? There's so many things I can go on and on and on about. So again, those are the things that you would list and highlight in terms of special skills. Communication skills, certainly that is something that's being assessed throughout the whole process, whether it's the application stage, at the interview stage, and certainly overall in the background too. We want to make sure that you're able to communicate with people. As you're interacting with people, you're respectful. Certainly those are things that will help you as you go through the process and even beyond in your career. Driving, certainly you need to have a G license with no more than 6 demerit points as you go through the process. But as you know, a police officer, spends a lot of time in their police cruiser. So it's very, very important that you're a safe driver, a good driver, that you follow the rules, not only, when you're a police officer behind the police car, but certainly in your personal life when you're off duty too, because you are setting the example, right? So you can't be enforcing it if you're not following it yourself. Leadership. So we're looking to understand all your leadership qualities, maybe in your personal life, your professional life, work life, wherever it is that you've shown leadership attributes, right? Where you've taken on a lead to lead people, solve problems. Because when you become a police officer and you're at a particular situation, you're thrust into that position to take on the leadership role, to manage the situation. So certainly that is something that we're going to be really looking for you to highlight. So make sure that you come prepared to share and talk about examples when it comes to that. Employment history. So certainly we'll look at your employment history. We want to know about every single position that you've held throughout your work history. So if it was a paper route that you started when you were 12 years old, yes, we want to know about it. Your first job that you held and all the jobs subsequent after that came after, we want to know about it. And some people reach out saying, officer, I can't find the supervisor's name or I forget the company. Do the best you can to fill out as much detailed information about each of the position and the tenure that you had there. And then certainly we'll go into it if there's any missing information. Community service. Yes, one of the things that we assess you on is volunteering. So certainly talk about not only volunteering that you did at an organization, but also there's examples that you can talk about where you've given your time to benefit others. So that's one way you can speak to community service. If you haven't done any formal community service within your organization, that's another way for you to articulate it, because most of us, if not all of us, always have helped people or help people for things that they need help with. So think about it and articulate it, and I'm sure you'll be able to come up with an example for that. And finally, lifestyle and life experience. So again, we want to know what sort of lifestyle you lead, what sort of life experience you bring to the table, whether you're a young applicant or maybe in your midlife making a career change. So these are things that you have a myriad of things that you can talk about in terms of what you bring to the table, and it's all valid, right? So certainly those are things that I would say think about and make notes on as you go through. Again, so these are the 10 areas of assessment that I would say that we look for as you're going through the process. And again, if you go on our website, you'll be able to find that and kind of sit down, make some points in each category so you can see where you might need to improve. Questions here. Let's get back to the questions here. I missed it a little bit. Here we go. I'm trying to pick a question that I did not answer. Okay, a question here. Should I expect an interview to be 3 to 5 hours as listed on the website? Okay, I'll use my interview as an example. Usually my interviews go from anywhere from 2 hours. I would say 2 hours to the most part. Are there interviewers that have 3-hour interviews? Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes it does happen based on the amount of information an applicant has. If they have a lot of things in their background, a lot of life history, a lot of things that they've done, yeah, absolutely, it might take 3 hours. But usually, I think many of our recruiters are usually within the 2-hour ranges for the most part. And like I said earlier, we go over everything in your application, everything about you. This is a chance where you're able to speak about yourself, sell yourself in terms of why you are a best fit for this position and this organization. That's what we're looking for during this interview, right? It's meant to be personable, it's meant to be engaging. We're not looking to intimidate you. That's not what this is all about. It's really about getting to know you, why you want to pursue this profession, and if you're a good fit for us. That's exactly what's happening in this interview assessment, right? Mm, if I plan to submit my application mid-February, does that mean I could still be considered for the March class? Um, and when is the next following intake? Is it better to wait after March? I would say get the application in when you're competitive, or you're at your competitive best and it's complete. I don't recommend you submitting application based on when the next class is. I say you submit the application when you're ready, because as your application makes its way through each stage of the hiring process, certainly when you get to the end stage, as I said, 4 to 6 months, usually for an application from start to finish, that should be your target line. Because you can't predict how your application will move forward at each stage, because there are a lot of timeline factors that come into play. Okay, so a question for Nicole here. I want to apply, but I also want to have kids in the next couple of years. Should I wait until I have kids? Also, what would happen if I got pregnant before the 1 year probation is over? So this happens, life happens, Nicole. I say you should apply if you feel like you're ready. If you feel that you're competitive and you're ready, certainly I think you should apply. It's your personal choice when it comes to having children. Those are all things that are your personal choice. We as an organization, we're not going to tell you what to do there, right? That's your personal choice. If you feel like you want to have the chance to get through the hiring process, and if you feel ready, you feel competitive, I'd say apply. And certainly as you're going through the training, as you're going through probationary period, again, if life happens, things happen, obviously we as an organization would have to accommodate you for those things, right? Those are things that we would absolutely accommodate you for. But certainly, if you have specific questions about that, call us and talk to us, I guess, especially if you have any sort of specific questions that relate to that, right? But if you're competitive and you feel like you want to apply, I would say go ahead with it, right? Um, Question. Okay, what if I have a separation agreement stating I can't move farther than 50 kilometers away, as I'm a mature applicant? So, Charlene, great question, and this happens all the time. And I think, just as I mentioned earlier to Nicole, life happens, and people have various family situations. So that's why I come back to the point about, when you select your 6 detachments, you're picking them, not us. So you actually get to go through all the detachments that we have across the province, and you get to pick all the 6 detachments that you pick. And when you go through our process, one of the things that we talk about at the interview stage, even at the background stages, what's impactful to you. So if you have a separation agreement, and I don't know if you have children in this scenario here, but if you did, certainly we would consider all that, because we're not looking to send you to a detachment or a posting that's a detriment to you. That is not our goal here. We're going to work with you. And that's why we ask you to list all the detachments that you want, and also supporting the reasons for why you want to go here. So if you have this certain predicament, certainly we will look at that and consider that when making your final posting, right? So that way we're setting you up for success. We want to set you up for success, not only when you're in training, but when you report to the detachment on your probationary period, but also throughout your time as an officer. So depending on where you're going, we understand that your family or your support network play a huge role in making sure you're happy and successful in this role. This is a challenging role. This is very, very challenging profession. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything to support you. Yes, we have organizational needs that come into play, and we consider those also, but we also take your needs into consideration. Okay, so I would leave it at that for it. Question: what is the difference between special constable and regular officer? Great Great question. So we currently hire obviously for a various areas. So we hire the auxiliary stream. We hire for the regular constable stream. We will be hiring for the special constable stream, the cadet stream. So the constable position has different hiring requirements. The special constable position has different hiring requirements, different training requirements. Obviously, when you're applying for the constable position, obviously you're applying for a police officer position where you're armed. Where the special constables, they are not armed. They are not considered a police officer. They have peace officer status for certain things, but they are not considered a police officer. And obviously, that's based on your salary. Uh, that's also based on the type of roles that you'll be allowed to do, right? But certainly read all the different minimum requirements, read the job specifications for each role, which we have on our website, opp.ca/careers. And that way you can understand which role suits your needs at this time. If you think you're able to, if you think the police officer position is what interesting to you, pursue that, go for it. But if you feel the special constable is the one that is maybe a better fit for you, then go for that. Go for the one that you think is the right fit, because that's very, very important. Thanks for the question, everyone. So I'm trying to see if I can do the best I can and go from there. Here, let's see what the next question I'm missing here is. Here we go. Does having a student loan as a recent graduate affect eligibility or competitiveness in the OPP recruitment process, assuming the loans are in good standing? So that is not going to negatively impact you at all. This is a question that I get asked regularly. Debt. We all have debt. If you have a student loan, if you have a car loan, if you have a mortgage, these are considered, I would say, good debt, right? These are things that don't impact you because you need these things to live in this country. You need these things to have what you want, right? So I would not say this is something you need to be worried about. You have to be able to showcase how you're managing it. How is it that you're managing your debt? What sort of responsibility are you taking to manage your overall debt? I think that's how you should approach it. And again, we will dive into this during your interview and also in the background stages of your process, right? So I would not consider that a negative thing. Okay. Question. I'm 22 years old from the USA and plan on moving up to Ontario with my wife. What advice do you have for someone hungry to join the OPP? I'm very physically fit, but I just don't know where to start. So, great question. And we get this from a lot of people that are abroad outside of Canada. So one of the things, you need to be a Canadian citizen and permanent resident. Those are one of the requirements that you need to have to apply to the OPP as a police constable. I can't assess that based on your question there. But if that is something that you are, then you're eligible to apply. Everything else would be something that you'd be able to address. So I think that's the one piece that you'll need to answer, or I guess figure out. Are you currently a Canadian citizen or a permanent resident? If you are, I would say certainly go on our website, and everything else is pretty straightforward. Okay. Another question here: are there common areas where applicants struggle during the selection stage, and how can candidates be better prepared? Yeah, good question. There are. I would say certainly, if I were to go into this topic in detail, I could probably do another 2 hours on this session. So there are areas certainly people can always improve on. But that's where I come back to the piece about self-assessment. Look at each of the areas of assessment, the 10 areas of assessment, and start making points on each of the areas. And right away, you'll see there'll be a pattern of how strong you are. Maybe you might be strong in one, but may not be strong in the other. For example, maybe you're not able to meet the fitness, or maybe you're not able to get level 7 on the shuttle run. So how can you address that? Maybe starting to run more, joining running clubs, maybe getting a personal trainer to help you achieve that goal, because you need to be able to get level 7 on the shuttle, but you also need to be able to pass the prep test when you attend the Ontario Police College. So these are things that you need to do to be successful. So I think that's where the whole self-assessment piece comes into play, if you are concerned. So I think starting there would be a good factor. And then if you're really, really, needing more feedback on that, go through our process. By going through our process, you're going to learn very, very quickly, whether you're a competitive candidate or there's things that you need to improve on. Okay, that's how I would say that. Okay, another question here. How soon can new officers expect to specialize or pursue additional training? I assume you're talking about going into specialty units or things that that you're interested in. So as you know what, great segue. So let's go into what happens after you're hired. Let's go into that one because I know I want to touch on that. So I talked about the 10 areas assessment. I talked about what the hiring stages are from stage 1 to stage 7. Let's talk about what happens after you're hired. So the moment you get your phone call, the moment you get the job offer, one of the good things with us is when we call you with the job offer, we're going to tell you right off the bat where you're going being posted. So you're going to know right away from the 6 detachments that you picked which one is being offered to you. So before you sign on the dotted line and accept the offer, you're going to have a chance to go talk to your family, process it and assess it to see, hey, is this the detachment that I want to accept? Once you accept, what happens, obviously, you prepare now for training. So how does the recruit training work for the OPP? So initially, you'll have 8 days of orientation in Aurelia. So that's when you physically need to show up to Aurelia, where our OPP general headquarters is located, and you would meet your recruit class. You would meet the class of all the candidates that you're going in training with. You'll meet your instructors. Certainly, you'll receive all your kit, all your uniform. It's a memorable week because it's more about the administration piece, getting ready as a team, and doing mentally being prepared to do this. Once you finish the orientation, what happens is you start the OPC training, starting with 3 weeks of online OPC training. So the first 3 weeks you're learning online as a class. After that, you physically attend the Ontario Police College, which is located in Elmer, Ontario. You'll attend the 10 weeks of in-person training, right? This is for total in 13 weeks of training at OPC. When you're in Elmer, certainly there's a lot of things happening, right? You're there for training with all the police recruits that have been hired by every single police service across the province. Okay, so you're there, you're being taught. So you have classes. It's just like going to an education situation in terms of a college or university. You have lectures, you go to classes, you have practical, you have theory scenarios, you have defensive tactics, you have firearms training, you have provincial vehicle operations training. So there's a lot of things that are being taught on, and obviously there's exams and assessments that you need to pass as you go through the process. So once you graduate from the Ontario Police College after the 13 weeks, you'll return for Part A of the training in the Provincial Police Academy, which is something new that we're introducing for 2026. So what does that mean? So you'll come back to the Provincial Police Academy for 6 weeks, where you get more hands-on, in-depth training, more specifically about OPP. So all the things that we utilize, all the things in terms of technology, firearms, vehicles, databases, everything that the OPP utilizes, you get hands-on training at your at the general headquarters here. Once you finish the 6 weeks, you'll then report for field training for 13 weeks at your detachment. So you'll go back to detachment for 13 weeks. That's where you'll meet your coach officer. And now everything that you've been taught from a training perspective, you'll be able to put into practice. You'll have your coach officer training you, mentoring you, just making sure that everything that you were taught, you're able to put into practice. So at the completion of the 13 weeks, now you'll come back to the Provincial Academy for Part B, which is another 4 weeks of top-up training. So again, this kind of gives you a chance to get back into the classroom. Now you have all the theory that you'd have, took in from Ontario Police College, the Provincial Academy, and then now you would have had the 13 weeks to put it into practice at the detachment. And now you come back for the next 4 weeks of top-up training at the academy. So it's a very wholesome way of learning and training, which we feel will benefit our recruits. So again, this is why we've implemented this new training schedule moving forward. Again, all the training, there's no cost to you, right? There's no fee that you pay for the Ontario Police College, and there's no cost for any of the academy training, and you're getting paid from the moment you start as a provincial recruit, day one, right? So that way you are earning your salary from day one. So this is what your training schedule will look as you're going through the full training. Okay. Any questions on that? I think there's a few that probably had questions on that. As we look at that, so we're already 10 minutes to 3 there. So clearly that session ran very, very quick. I'm going to see if there's any questions that I missed. And certainly, if you have questions, anything about the different areas that I talked on, please spoke about, please do put it in there. I'll try the best to address it. Um, Question: How soon? I think I addressed that already. I currently hold the Class 5 New Brunswick license. Will I need to obtain an Ontario Class 5 license during the OPP application process? No. If you have a license from another province, certainly that's acceptable. Certainly, all we would require is your abstract. You would have to submit your abstract with your application. Okay. Um, let's see here. I think I might have missed one or two here. Um, what to expect after the shuttle run pass? Certainly, when you submit or if you pass the shuttle run, the next stage that you're competing for is the interview stage. That is what you would be looking into. What's the difference between the OPP and York Regional Police? Absolutely, great question. So there's three levels of policing, just like three levels of government. So you have the federal, which is the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, who would be considered our federal policing partner. You have the provincial police, which is where we fall under as the inter-provincial police, and then you have the municipal police services. Then there are a lot of municipal police services. So York Regional Police would be considered a municipal policing service because they are the policing body for the region of York. If you came into the city of Toronto, there's the Toronto Police. If you went to Peel, there's the Peel Regional Police. So each region, especially within the GTA and even beyond the GTA area, you would see there are different municipal policing services that oversee their area, right? So that is how I would say I can break it down for you. Obviously, I can get more in depth about what the responsibilities are for each of the policing services, but overall, policing as an organization, we are all trying to do the same thing, but obviously from a geographical location, our mandate is different. As a provincial service, we have the mandate across the whole province to support and help. But certainly, we won't be going into an organization like York Regional Area to police that community because they have their own police service, right? Any other questions that I missed? Oh, apparently we received tons of feedback today, so that's I see some cup from Restream, so that's a good thing. Let's see here. Anything that I missed? I'm just trying to look at the one that I do. The recruits stay on PPA campus during pre and post training? Yes. So anytime you come to the Provincial Police Academy in Aurelia, certainly you would be hosted here, and we cover your cost for training as part of your hiring process. And certainly, as you're making salary, that's separate, right? Your salary is for you, but we would cover all the cost for training. Here we go. Anything else that I missed here as we wrap up? Is the new training timeline summary in the website? Yes, it's going to be on the website, so you'll be able to go and see what that is. So if this is something for many of our applicants, certainly they have family or other obligations, and all this matters because they need to know how to manage their life, especially if they have dependents and spouses that work or have other careers. These are things that are impactful to them. So certainly these are the information will be available to you for you to assess and certainly see. And if you have any questions specifically, or there are things from an accommodation perspective that you need to know, please don't hesitate to reach out to us because we want to make sure, as I mentioned earlier, that we're setting you up for success, not only from our training perspective, but also from your transitioning to the road as you become an officer. Okay. Greetings from Finland. I don't know how you say hello in Finnish, but hello. How long is the training, police training in Canada? And I think I just went over that. 13 weeks of training at the Interior Police College. And then you would have initial academy training of 8 weeks. And then you'd have 23 weeks of Provincial Policing Academy. So that is the amount of time that you would start to finish would be in training as you're going through the full parameter here in Canada. Okay, so who knows? Maybe if you meet the parameters, you'll be able to apply. Can I apply for both York and the OPP at the same time? Absolutely, you can. You can apply to both York and Toronto and as many services as you want. Just expect to answer the question of why you had done that, and if you have a great reason for it, absolutely. we don't oppose you going through multiple applications or multiple services that you're going through at the same time. Thank you, Camille. Appreciate it. Camila? Fabio, how long is the commitment if we decide to move up north? Again, we break down our northern duration based on years. So we can offer you 2, 3, 4, 5. Certainly, these are things that you would have to consider. And if you go on our website, we tell you what location has the time duration and what those specific years are. So you can pick based on what's applicable to you or what's relevant to you. Okay. Last minute information as we wrap up today, folks. And I want to thank you all for joining me today. I don't think I got to all the questions. I tried my best, but certainly I'll be back again as we move forward bi-weekly as we host them. And certainly, I invite you to come to our shuttle run sessions that we have online. If you're interested in them, please go on our opp.ca careers website. And if you go all the way down to the end of the page, you have the events. And please sign up and come see us, especially if it's our fitness session or if you're interested in our information sessions. So please sign up and come to those. We host them at the OPP General Headquarters. And we're all over the place across the province hosting different sessions to give you as much access to us and certainly as much access for information about the processes that we have. I know today we really highlighted in speaking about the constable process, but I also don't want to neglect the fact that we have other positions that we hire for, such as the auxiliary position, our cadet position, certainly our special constable positions, and each week when we talk about different topics within the AMA, we strive to have speakers that join us to highlight their areas or specialty areas that we want to highlight for you, because we truly want to expose you to all the different opportunities that we have available within the OPP. Because it's important that you're not only signing up for one position, but also a lifelong ability to learn and grow and change as your needs change. Certainly, I think as an organization we can meet those needs and certainly give you a workplace that's enjoyable to work in, right? Okay, last question that I haven't hit that maybe I need to address. Thank you for such an informative session. Appreciate it. Thank you. Let's see here. I can't read that out loud. I just haven't seen a question here. I want to address. What courses? Okay, maybe we'll wrap up with this one. I'm thinking of being an OPP officer. What high school courses would you recommend? So in high school, certainly, you would need to get your courses that are recommended. You have to get the mandatory courses for your OSSD, Ontario Secondary School Diploma. But certainly, if you're going beyond that, if you're going post-secondary, certainly there's very specific courses that you can pick. Or if you are not going post-secondary and you want to do certification courses, there's a lot of courses out there that you can, kind of target that just speak to this area, law enforcement area. But I also want to highlight, just because you may not have specific law enforcement courses doesn't mean you're not competitive. You can have any sort of background, any sort of education, and certainly apply to be a police officer, because we're looking to hire everyone that bring various life skills or background skills or even training. Anyone that is looking for a change of career or trying to get into something different, we want to see you in our process, because I think certainly you'll enrich our organization, you'll enrich the community that you serve, and I think that's a win-win for everybody overall. So in saying that, I want to thank you for joining me today for our first session of 2026. I wish everyone, again, a happy new year. I wish all of our potential candidates that will be going through our process this year all the very best as you compete for a spot in the classes that we're looking to fill the spots in. And whether it's at a shuttle run session or info session or any of our events that we host, hopefully I'll get the chance to meet you and engage with you and certainly address the questions that you may have. So in saying that, thank you again, and I wish you all a pleasant evening. Take care.